Hey, I wanted to come in today and talk about three things that you really need to understand when you're processing your relationship issues, specifically when it comes to understanding how your subconscious beliefs, the repetitive patterns that are existing in our subconscious all the time, 93 to 97% of our thoughts every single day are coming from the subconscious. So that means that 93% of your beliefs and thoughts about your relationships are coming from your subconscious. Kind of a big deal. So the first thing that I really need you to understand is that your subconscious is projecting unmet needs from the past into the present. What this means is that at the time that you formed these beliefs about relationships, about yourself and other people, and the way that relationships worked in the world, and specifically what you needed to do to feel safe and loved and secure, is the time when you were a child, right? So, most of our parents did absolutely the best that they possibly could with the tools that they had at that time, or our caregivers. And sometimes that left us with unmet needs, right? They couldn't be there for every single emotional situation or to help us process absolutely everything, right? So this left us with needs that were unmet. Sometimes that was physically, sometimes that's emotionally, sometimes that was mentally, and even helping us understand how we energetically worked with the outside world, right? So many of us have unmet needs. And what's happening all the time is that your subconscious cannot help but wire in this survival patterns from the past into your present. So you're seeing it unconsciously through that lens of the times that your needs were not met in your life, and you are projecting that into the present, into your current relationships. Oftentimes people discover that their partner, the people they're dating, kind of activate the same issues that they had with a parent or a caregiver, or the lack thereof. And the lack of a relationship that we had with a parent or caregiver can be reflected back to us in current relationships. So you can start to sort of understand where your subconscious issues are coming into your relationships just by realizing that it's super powerful. I'm not going to focus too much today on how to unwind it. That would be a really long video. But just understanding that will help empower you to start to shift your perspective in the now, in the relationships that you currently have. And the second thing to understand is that the subconscious heavily focuses on what we would call like the negative or red over the positive or blue, right? So the subconscious is wired to look for danger, much like our nervous system. Actually, the nervous system and subconscious have a ton in common there. It's focusing on the negative things so that you can eliminate dangers from your environment. Sometimes this is physical, usually it's emotional, right? So we are looking for the information and the things that are coming into our experience that our mind is saying we need to block or protect ourselves from or keep us from danger. So it is mostly taking on information, looking for those things. That's why we can often feel like we're focusing more on what's going wrong in our relationships rather than what's going right. We are always attracting beautiful, wonderful things into our lives and our current relationships. And even if you don't feel like you have the love in your life right now that you truly desire, if you look into your past, there is absolutely so much love there. Beautiful, positive things that you've already attracted into your life in romantic relationships, but often we are only focused on what is going wrong and what we want to cultivate instead. And just realizing, what we focus on does expand. That's not just law of attraction. That is how the mind works. That is how the brain works. When you focus on what's already good, what's already existing that you're trying to attract more of, you will automatically train your mind to start to look for and attract those things. And the subconscious has the best of intentions, right? It really is trying to make these safety and survival things autonomic, which is a wonderful wonderful thing, but at the same time, it's kind of, throwing a little shade your way because it's making you think about all these things you don't want. And even if you are in a committed partnership and are generally happy, you're probably usually focusing on what's annoying you about your partner, what they're not doing enough of, or what you want to change in your relationship. It's totally fair. We should always focus on improving our relationships, but we should also really appreciate the beauty and the magic and the love that's already there. When you do this and when you start to have that attitude of gratitude to bring in that appreciation, you're going to see how easy it is to bring more of what you want into your life. And the third thing that we're going to talk about is how relationships and survival are heavily, heavily linked in the subconscious mind. In a certain extent, we are not that much more evolved than monkeys, in that if we sensed danger in our community or if we were extricated from that community, our options for surviving and passing on our genes weren't that high. So you had to be significant but not too different. You had to have skills and abilities and leadership, but you couldn't offend people and do anything that would sort of basically get you kicked out of that tribe. It might bring new perspective into the community that you were raised in, and understanding how even if we disagree with our family, our friends, our loved ones, we still usually go along with the crowd. There are literally, hundreds of studies in psychology and even in economic theory about how people are so heavily influenced by other people's decisions, even when you think you're objective and independent. Other people's opinions and ways of doing things do affect us very, very greatly. When we understand our relationship patterns from this perspective, it brings new light into the situation and hopefully cause you to not be so hard on yourself when you're trying to up-level your relationship patterns and attract new things into your life, because you were literally wired to be a certain way for life. We thought that we were going to die or not have the opportunity to pass on our genes to our children, all these things, if we didn't do the right thing in our community. It is so, so, so key to understand how deep this stuff goes. You can't defeat these patterns with logic, right? Because they're not logical in the first place. They are deeply emotional. You have to sometimes work at the surface layers in order to get down further into those deeper layers that are going to really, really help you up-level your relationships at a massive, massive level. So when you're thinking about all of these things, just keep in mind where you feel hopeless, where you feel powerless, where you feel frustrated. Start to think about all of these three things: unmet needs, focusing on negative or red over blue or positive, and also understanding how deep our relationship patterns are linked to our safety and survival. And you will start to unravel and unwind and get some objectivity and some space and perspective in your own relationship patterns, and really just starting to gain some awareness and empowerment back into these things that have probably been frustrating and difficult for you. And please remember to subscribe to this channel. I don't want you to miss anything that's going to help you up-level your relationships, and I'll see you in the next video.